So I warned you, I bought new plants. So let me walk you through the new landscaping. So I cut back the Nubius, like I said, and I moved the other half of it behind it. So you can see it's doing a nice crown between those two pieces of driftwood. I ordered in some more of this crypt. And let me see. Hold on a second. Oh, wrong receipt. So what happens is you throw away the coupon before you are done with it. Or the shipping label. Alright, so this way you can get the names. So this is Cryptocornis parva, and probably ordered more containers than I needed, but they were really tiny. They're really tiny, as you can see. But I carpeted out to about here. So hopefully as they'll spread, they'll give a nice flat layer across there. I also found when I was doing the fertilization afterwards, there's some right back there. So I might end up at another time moving those forward up here, just because they're so low, they hide in the back. So on top of the piece of driftwood, I bought a piece of Bucephalangia, which I do have to say is the most expensive aquarium plant I've ever bought. So let's cross our fingers and hope it does really well. It's a really nice piece though. A lot of times the people that sell it is like 3 or 4 leaves, and this is a nice chunk of it. I got some Bobitis, which I tied onto, you can see all that teal thread there. I tied it on to some scrap pieces of Chula and then sort of hung it on this piece of driftwood so that hopefully it'll bush out and make sort of an interest point there in the tank composition. I'm contemplating what to do with that Crebensis, because it's just, there's so much Crebensis in this tank. It might be interesting to just leave it for now, I guess. So the next plant, so there's this covering of the crypt, which I hope to do about to here, and then I'm hoping that this dwarf hairgrass will fill in the like a carpet area right around the crebenza. But this is like the 3rd time I've tried jabum or dwarf hairgrass, and it tends to be like my nemesis for growing. I might try it one more time when I redo the 5, just because it won't have a Plecostomus in it, which I think is often my problem. But this is aquacultured, so I cut it into fairly large chunks and planted those, hoping that instead of trying to plant every little tiny piece of grass individually, that would be better. You can see I missed a little bit of the gel media right there. So then the last plant that I got is Litorella uniflorea. I think that's this one. If not, that's the scientific name for dwarf hairgrass. Anyway, it's supposed to be sort of like a carpeting plant, but it's supposed to be extremely slow. Like, you know, in a year, this might double in size. So I planted this in this corner. I moved some of the stem plant back some, and then I just spread it out along here, and we'll see how it goes. Now, because my substrate's sand and it's inert, it doesn't have any nutritional content other than the fish poo that makes it down into it. I added root tabs to everything, so I put root tabs in. It was time to do the whole tank, so anything that's a nutrient puller from the roots. So none of the Anubis really need root tabs, but I did the Crebensis and the swords in the back, and all of this foreground area where I planted new growth. Those crypts over there got some more, and that Crebensis. Did not bother fertilizing the wisteria, because that just seems to grow no matter what, so I didn't really feel the need to add more fertilizer to it. So I may, you know, depending on how these things grow, if they like my light, if I have enough, I'm a little worried that I might need to add a second light to this tank. This is the light on max power, and it gets that for about 3 hours a day. And then it goes back to its other mode, which is 24/7. And that's, I mean, that's how dark it is usually at this time of day. So it's considerably darker than a lot of these plants probably like it. Especially these foreground plants need a lot of light. And that's why, I mean, I put them all in this sort of open area in the front, and I cut back things like this, which would have shaded this whole area because it's grown so large. So we'll see how they grow in. If my Plecostomus have uprooted everything in the next 2 days, then we'll know I wasted a bunch of money on plants. But, I mean, these little guys are easy enough to replant, but they literally have like almost no root structure. They're like just that deep into the soil. They're super tiny, like, you know, like that big. So hopefully they take to it. The Cories were out the whole time I was planting, checking out the new plants. Even the Siamese algae eaters were checking out the soil, kicking up whatever interested them. But as you can see, let me turn back to Max here. Helpful if I was pointing at the thingy. Hold on. Sorry about that. I guess I had to point it right at it. It just might need a new battery because this light has a remote. So the other thing that I bought, which we won't see right away, I got these lily bulbs, and they're dwarf lilies, and maybe see, hold it under the light, there's just little roots starting to grow, and they'll eventually sink, and those have a red-brown leaf with some like brown freckling, which are really pretty, and I thought they'd be neat. I want to put a couple back mixed into these plants, maybe run right here bordering these. They stay pretty low, but they'll shoot up runners that you can just trim off. One back there and there. And the idea is to get some plants with different colors. You know, these dark green crypts are pretty much the only thing I have that's not just that mid-tone green. That's why I'm excited about this Bobitis, because it's a darker green and it has a different leaf texture, which will be really interesting. And you know, these grasses, which have a bit finer texture, would be a nice addition. So that's today's checkup, and overall I'm really excited and pleased how well these plants looked when they arrived. I mean, some of these were kind of jumbled up, but they did go through shipping, and it was below freezing the whole time they were in shipping from Florida. So they arrived, I think, looking pretty good. And these crypts might, what they call crypt melt, might melt back some, but then they'll grow back. And hopefully I'll get a nice carpet with hardly any waiting. You can see these guys checking them out, but they only disturb like the very top layer of soil, so they don't tend to actually dig. They just kind of are scavenging for food, which they've already had today. So anyway, hope you're having good fish keeping of your own. Talk to you later.